first text this week is an opinion article published by the Prevention Institute on January 19th, 2011. The article is entitled, "New Study Finds Front of Package Labels Misleading." The Prevention Institute is a nonprofit national center located in Oakland, California, and dedicated to improving community health and well-being by encouraging prevention of diseases and illnesses. It has a strong commitment to community participation and promotion of equitable health outcomes among all social and economic groups. To learn more about the Prevention Institute, visit www.preventioninstitute.org. Chronic diseases like diabetes are skyrocketing, and children are predicted to have a shorter lifespan than their parents. Parents want healthy food for their kids, and they want accurate information to guide them. But parents are being fundamentally misled, says Prevention Institute's new study, released through Strategic Alliance. Claiming Health, front of package labeling of children's food, examined products with front of package labeling, those products that food companies choose to identify as healthier. Claiming Health found that 84% of products studied failed to meet basic nutritional standards. Contrary to the claims on the labels, study findings reveal more than half, 57%, of the study products qualified as high sugar, and 95% of products contained added sugar. More than half, 53%, were low in fiber. More than half, 53%, of products did not contain any fruits or vegetables. Of the fruits and vegetables found, half came from just two ingredients, tomatoes and corn. 24% of prepared foods were high in saturated fats. More than one-third, 36%, of prepared foods and meals were high in sodium. Claiming Health underscores that the current system is broken. We can't count on food companies to decide which products receive front of package labels and what information those labels include. Without FDA regulation, instead of giving more information to parents struggling to make the best decisions for their kids, families are being misled. The food industry can and should do better. Our families deserve it. Our second article this week is excerpted from encyclopedia.com. An excerpt is a smaller portion of a larger text. This text is entitled National Recovery Act of 1933 and was written by James G. Pope. When Franklin D. Roosevelt was inaugurated in March 1933, almost 13 million workers, about 25% of the workforce, were unemployed. Industrial production was barely half what it had been in 1929. While millions faced starvation, dairy farmers poured fresh milk into the dirt to dramatize the fact that overproduction and cutthroat competition had driven milk prices so low that the farmers could not recover their costs. To pull the nation out of this crisis, the new administration developed a strategy with two central elements. One, spreading the available work among larger numbers of employees, and two, increasing the purchasing power of the people. To spread the work available to more workers, the government would limit the number of hours already employed workers could work, thus reducing the labor performed by these workers and forcing employers to hire new employees from among the unemployed. To increase purchasing power, the government would establish minimum wage rates and launch a public works program, construction projects including schools, hospitals, and bridges that would pump federal funds into the economy. Instead of restricting hours and wages directly through legislation, the administration proposed to work with private trade associations, which had been unsuccessfully attempting to reduce hours and regulate competition on their own. On June 16, 1933, President Franklin D. Roosevelt signed the National Industrial Recovery Act, NIRA, into law to counter what the act called the national emergency that had resulted in widespread unemployment and disorganization of industry. The act was intended to encourage cooperative action among trade groups to induce and maintain united action of labor and management under adequate governmental sanctions and supervision, to eliminate unfair competitive practices, to promote the fullest possible utilization of the present productive capacity of industries, to increase the consumption of industrial and agricultural products by increasing purchasing power, to reduce and relieve unemployment, and to improve standards of labor. During the 2 years of the program's existence, more than 500 codes were enacted. The Standard Code contained wage and hours provisions, the essential elements of Roosevelt's recovery strategy. In return for accepting these provisions, businesses in many industries insisted on adding production restrictions and price minimums. Unwilling to use the Act's compulsory mechanisms, the NRA had no alternative but to go along. In especially disorganized industries, such provisions might have helped to avoid destructive price declines, but historians believe that in most industries these provisions held back recovery and promoted the interests of the largest and most powerful corporations at the expense of others. The maximum hours provision did force some work sharing, and it is possible that as many as 2 million unemployed workers obtained jobs as a result. On the other hand, it does not appear that the wage minimums were sufficient to offset price increases. Our third text this week is entitled Reinert Meets the Cannibals. This is a traditional Norwegian folk tale retold by Kirsty Sabo Newcomb. This text was taken from a book entitled The Moral of the Story, Timeless Tales to Cherish and Share, which was compiled and edited by Jerry Newcomb in 1996. Here's some background information. Norway has long been known as a seafaring nation since the time of the Vikings. Many are the stories of Norsemen on the sea. Some are tall tales, and some are more or less true. This story, Reinert Meets the Cannibals, is a tale of overcoming evil with brains. The self-mocking humor is quite typical for the southern part of Norway. The story would have taken place in the early 1800s. It is told from the perspective of a seamate of Reinert. There was an old Norwegian sea hawk named Reinert, who had sailed the 7 seas for as long as anyone could remember. He and I had many an adventure together, but none as terrifying as the one you are about to hear. We were sailing in the Pacific Ocean, and of all the bad storms we'd ever been in, this one was out to get us. Sure enough, the ship went down, and only Reinert and I and the boat chef floated ashore on a little island. It was wonderful to be safe and dry again, but the wonder didn't last. There were natives there, and we discovered it when we were rudely awakened by someone poking us and tying us up and dragging us along. Or maybe we should say, they discovered us. We were brought to a little village, at least there were huts and a big fire, and people who were more or less, especially less, dressed. We were tied to a pole, and the people started some sort of preparations. They put a big iron pot with water in it over a fire. They put different roots and greens in it. Then our chef started to lose his normal coloring, and his teeth started chattering. I understood it too. We were among cannibals. They were preparing the pot for us. We were dinner. We couldn't communicate with them, and I had to think quickly. I whispered, "Your wooden leg, screw it off and throw it over to them." Reinert understood, and it was sure worth a try. We managed to get the leg loose, and we threw it over to the natives. The crowd screamed in excitement, but all of a sudden the crowd grew extremely quiet. I can only imagine that they started thinking something like, what kind of people is this who can divide themselves in pieces as they wish? Then they tasted the leg. After that, they let us go very quickly, and the rumor spread among all the islands and on all the 7 seas. You can't eat people from Norway. They are totally unpalatable. Here again, we see rewarded in a folk tale the idea of being clever, using your head, being quick on your feet. I've noticed the same moral in a lot of the fairy tales from all sorts of different cultures and countries. There is no premium on dullness.